come to bless the Lord, gathered here in unity, to praise the Father, Spirit, and the Son. All hail the blessed Trinity, who was and is to come. One hope, one faith, one joy and one salvation, one Christ, one cross, one death and resurrection.
We have come to bless the Lord, gathered here in unity, to praise the Father, Spirit, and the Son. All hail the blessed Trinity, who was and is to come, who was and is to come. One hope, one faith, one joy and one salvation, one Christ, one cross, one death and resurrection. And he shall reign forevermore. And he shall reign forevermore. And he shall reign forevermore. And he shall reign forevermore.
Hi everybody, my name's Helen. I'm one of the pastors at Bethel Church in Albury. Thanks for joining us online today. Do you know, I sat down to prepare this talk on Monday this week and in less than 2 minutes I got distracted. My notifications, my to-do list popped up on my screen. I sorted a couple of things out that I needed to do. There are now multiple screens open on my computer. And whilst I was doing that, Sky News, an alert beeped on my phone. Intrigued, I just had to go and answer that and go and have a little look, and it was all about Boris Johnson isolating, but you know, it's okay because he feels like he's as fit as a butcher's dog. Well, I really needed to know that, and I'm glad I didn't miss that tweet. And then ironically, my screensaver, my screen time notification popped up, telling me that my usage was down 30% last week. Well, hooray for me. I start to recover my chain of thought. I flick back to the internet browser and pick up the Bible again. And you know, Alexa beeps. You could have written this really. It beeps and flashes yellow to tell me that my delivery has arrived. And you know what it's like with deliveries. You know, if you're like me, I just have to go and check out to see what it is that I actually did order. And so then I come back to the desk and I'm about to look online for stuff that I was going to be using today. And then sad news on a messenger text that a father of a colleague had just passed away with COVID. So I pray a little prayer for the family. I send a little prayer emoji online, and I try to get back to the thing that I really need to get done today. And I'm totally lost again as to what I needed to say or do or think. Is it just me? Do you do that as well? I'm guessing it's not just me, because you know, even years ago when I was a kid, it used to be the phone ringing. We'd just sit down for tea and you could put money on the fact that somebody would ring, and it would usually be one of three people. I won't tell you who they were. Just as we were about to sit down to eat, just as we were about to watch Dallas, you could pretty much guarantee that that happened. But you see, nowadays it's online marketing, it's notifications, it's alerts, status updates, posts, tweets, and it can all become this barrage of information and demand, competing for our attention in that moment, demanding that we answer the call, designed to grab our attention and drag us away from the present. And you know, we are bombarded with this unending stream of unfiltered, unexplained, unproven, unexpected information that, you know, is actually often unworthy of our time and attention. The culture we live in demands that we are always somewhere else than in the present, in the here and now. The thing that bugs me the most, you know what that is? It's when families, groups of people who've clearly made that effort to get to the park or go to the beach or the countryside or do something together that day. And I have to say, perhaps as a family, we've fallen into the same trap. And you can see half of them walking around with their earphones on, no interaction between themselves particularly. Someone's talking perhaps business on the phone. The kids are pulling Snapchat faces to friends that they can't seem to be away from even a few hours. And I can't stand it when someone is on the phone at the till, making that person who's trying to serve them a coffee feel like they're the problem. You know, how much harder, you know, it is nowadays to make sure that we are fully present, available to the people with us in the moment, to enjoy the beauty, to unplug from technology and to be replenished by connecting with one another, to connect with creation all around us, to allow it to soothe our souls, which is what it does, rather than only consuming it every now and then when it's on a screen with David Attenborough narrating over it. You know, I've been reading an excellent book called Get Your Life Back by John Eldridge. A lot of this talk has sprung from it, to be honest, and he puts it this way: our attention is being constantly taken hostage. Some of you may have the balance right. Some of you can go and put the dinner on, if I'm honest. You might have it all sorted and a lot more balanced than I do. Maybe some of you are thinking to yourself, well, you see, Helen, that's why I don't do all this technology. I'm happy with my old brick. But there is something else that you know will consume your time and attention that little bit more than it should. You know, at the beginning of lockdown, many of us suddenly had time on our hands. It was quite a fearful time, wasn't it? We were literally unplugged from our normal duties and routines. The Netflix box sets helped some of us fill that space, as did extra sleep, volunteering, painting the house, sorting out the garden, and the whole list of things that we put off until whenever. Even exercised. Some of us exercised with Joe Wicks. We're all rightly or wrongly found something, even if it was just daytime telly, to distract our attention. I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here started last night. No doubt about it. It will compete for my attention at the end of each day between now and Christmas. And you know what? I will choose to make room for it. But you know, throughout time, followers of Jesus, in all seriousness, have always believed that it is vital to give God our attention regularly, to practice doing that. The writer of Hebrews encourages us to run the race that God has set before us. And we do this by fixing our eyes on Jesus, the champion, the author of our faith, the perfecter of our faith. Psalm 34 verse 5 says, those who look to him are radiant, they're enthused, they're full of life. The writer of Psalm 1 said, blessed is the one who does not walk in step with the wicked, or stand in the way of sinners, or sit in the company of mockers, but whose delight is in the law of the Lord, and who meditates on his law day and night. That person is like a tree planted by streams of water, which yields its fruit in season, and whose leaf does not wither. Whatever they do prospers. Not so the wicked. They are like chaff that the wind blows away. You know, there's two types of people here. One who's rooted and life-giving, no matter what life throws at them. And the other who's so lacking in substance that they're compared to a dandelion, like one of those 1 o'clocks, swept away with the slightest puff of wind. You know, we can't give God our attention when our attention is constantly being targeted and taken captive, and more so that we even cooperate with that attention grab. Nicholas Carr, writer of a book called The Shallows, What the Internet is Doing to Our Brains, he suggests that there is enough evidence to say that technology is reshaping our ability to take in information and even reshaping the structures of our brains. No wonder we can't focus on anything for long. No wonder my teenage daughters can flit in and out of multiple online conversations at a time and keep up with a movie. No wonder our grandkids are teaching us how to use an iPad. We're training our brains often without realising it. Now, don't get me wrong, folks, this is not an anti-internet or anti-technology speech, not at all. We need to stay more connected than ever. I am pestering you constantly. We've even been willing to provide the technology to ensure that you can stay connected during these lockdowns. You see, with pandemic lockdowns, it's been an incredible tool, a timely tool to help us. But what we do tend to do is that we offer God the same flit and flicker of attention, and our disappointment is incredible when we don't find more of God, or we feel suddenly disconnected with him. You know, the average British person checks their phones over 58 times a day, more, I'm sure, during pandemic lockdowns. You see, tell me this, when your chime or your swoosh alert announces to you that a new text or message has arrived in your pocket, can you easily ignore it and carry on with the conversation that you're having, the book that you were reading, the walk you were taking, the video meeting that you're in? Can you turn your phone to night mode, or even, dare I say it, off? Is the phone the last thing you look at night and the first thing you reach for in the morning? To be honest, more often than not, that's me. That's what I do. You see, someone recently heard my phone ping in my pocket and asked me if I needed to get that. That was very thoughtful of them. But the reality is whether we like it or not, it's become the socially accepted norm that we think other people in front of us have other more important things to deal with. You know, John Eldridge suggests that we actually prefer distraction. He says the more distracted we are, the less present we are to our soul's various needs, hurts, disappointments, boredom, and fears. We don't have to think or deal with stuff that really actually matters. There's a lady called Juliet Funt. She's an advisor to the Fortune 500 companies. I listened to her at a conference once, and she advocates this concept of white space in business situations, time out in a crazy working day that allows employees to seemingly sit at their desk and do nothing. But what they are doing is they're being encouraged to concentrate, to think out of the box, to pause. Businesses are actually starting to realise that they've starved creativity by promoting this head-down, robotic, unhealthy working environment. And so here's the thing. You and I have a choice every single day. Discovering more of God, growing strong in mind, body, soul, spirit, demands that we create space, white or any other colour, in our day for God. Followers of Jesus, have always faced their own demands of culture, the pull, the expectations that their world imposed upon them. They must have thought that with the invention of the car or the washing machine and the computer, they'd have bags of time to enjoy life. Really? But you see, no matter what the generation, Christians have made white space, the time. They've used stillness, fasting, worship, prayer. They've gone to beautiful places, to name a few, to help them to refocus and replenish their souls. Christian practices and values have often been kind of almost bizarre, seen as countercultural. Bizarre at first glimpse, at least, but let's face it, run with culture, and we say yes to neglecting our souls. Yes to neglecting God. Yes to artificial meaning and purpose. Yes to numbing our souls. Yes to our incessant madness that we are told is a progressive life. This isn't a telling off, folks. This, I guess, is a lifeline. It's an opportunity to reset. If you're already aware of this stuff, well done. If you can fast from social media once in a while and are learning to be more present than distracted by your phone, then brilliant, well done. If you haven't been able to unplug with a holiday this year, and that's something that's really normal for you to do, something that helps you get through the next 13 weeks before another break, then can I encourage you to intentionally take time off, your days off, your holidays off, that will help you to unplug and compensate for the holidays that you may have missed. But let me leave you today with just a few very simple ideas that will allow us to stay connected in the world that we are called to know and love, but also that will help us to unplug and replenish our souls. Firstly, turn off the notifications. I'm still learning this, folks. Do you really need to know immediately that your pal has posted a picture of their pet hamster online? Do I really need to know that what Mr. Trump has tweeted this time? Or that a racing pigeon was sold for £1.4 million at 10:20 on Monday morning? Yes, believe it or not, that was another beep that distracted me as I wrote my talk. Secondly, fast from social media. Try cutting your use just for a week, or see what that does for you. Or just check it at a certain 10 or 15 minutes part of a day. Friends and colleagues I know who've done this have benefited so much. They've had so much more time, more focus, and, actually realise they didn't miss that much at all. Thirdly, turn off your phone at a reasonable time. Give yourself an evening off work. More time to be present with family. Banish tech from the bedroom. That's a classic. For years I've made it a policy not to answer work-related calls or texts after 10 o'clock at night unless it's clear that it's an emergency. Most things really will wait until tomorrow, and I'll be better able to respond when I'm feeling less tired. Fourthly, don't check your phone as soon as you wake up in the morning. Enjoy some peace. Give your soul a break. Take time to wake up and start the day over breakfast. Fifthly, when your phone beeps, cheeps or vibrates, don't react. Relearn that habit. It is a habit that we've kind of just taken on board, that drip, drip kind of habit. Make your phone wait. You are not the tool. Your phone is. It serves you, not the other way around. Sixthly, do real things. Make your own memories. Stop just ticking and boxes and thumbs up in and all of that stuff for everybody else's memorable day on Facebook or Instagram. Do real things. Make your own memories. Grow yourself more than you watch other people's lives on Facebook. Go for a walk. Listen. Learn something new. Cook something different. Whatever it takes. And then finally, something that has really helped me in these past weeks. When it comes to unplugging, I have found that pausing for just a minute or 3 minutes initially, just a couple of times a day, is really helping me as I've navigated lockdown and work and house move, etc., etc. Just pausing and approaching God with no list, no agenda, no need, just a hello from me. It's helped me to focus throughout the next hour or the next meeting, the next phone call. I'm not advocating, folks, Eastern meditation here that says that you are in control if you empty your mind and put your body in the right position and connect with your natural essence. I am advocating Christian meditation that encourages us to fill our mind with the Word of God, recognize that He is present, He is in control, and His power and wisdom are available in each moment, each conversation, each difficult meeting. Pauses in the car once the radio and the engine is switched off before running into work. Pauses in between phone calls. Pauses in between decisions that help provide some white space creativity and thought. Pauses that help me give everything and everyone to Him. Pauses that help me focus on a word, a passage from the Bible, and just repeating those words out loud. Small pauses that help me connect with the one who made me and holds me in amongst His wonderful world, but also a world that desperately wants to distract me from Him. A world that wants to squeeze me into its mould. What do you need to do to unplug today that will help you to plug in and create some sacred space, God space, each day? Give it a try. I can only encourage you, give it a try. God will meet you there. And let me tell you this, you will begin to love it. You'll begin to be transformed and replenished through it. And you will appreciate your Saviour even more. God bless you, folks. Thanks for listening.
Today, I want to introduce you to Anna Marie and Steph, mother and daughter, and have been with us for how many years?
2 years, about 2 years.
2 years. So they're related to people in the church, but that doesn't matter. So tell us a bit about yourselves.
Well, I'm Anna. My grandparents were Italian. They came over in the mid-50s as immigrants from Italy. Who were Catholic. They became born-again believers in about mid-60s.
Oh, right, okay.
And they went to a Brethren Gospel Hall in Small Heath. And it was very strict upbringing, very different.
Sure.
So when we were born, that's where we all went.
Yeah.
So
sure.
we'd known about God and Jesus. We've been brought up in that family. Very, I think it was very secure sort of. We weren't really exposed to much of the world.
Okay.
Grew up, got married, had 2 children. I'd come away from God for a period of time. We went to go and live in Ireland. I went to go and live in Ireland. And I'd made some wrong choices.
Don't we all, Anne-Marie?
I just felt very isolated, very alone, very low. And I think things you've been brought up, you took for granted. I think, and when you're by yourself on your own, I think that's when the reality comes in. Everything you've been brought up, you believe in, you have time to reflect.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking it was my fault. I've made wrong choices as well. I was away from the family, so things you want to talk about with people, sometimes you just don't have that opportunity to really just offload.
You've had quite a mixed life. So you said you've got 2 daughters, and there's one sitting next to you. Helen.
A son and
a son.
Hello. A son and a daughter, yeah.
Hi, Steph. Listen, tell us about yourself, Steph.
So I've always been brought up in church, as my mum was saying, like, from a young age. I've always known about God, but really my faith didn't really come into play until we moved to Ireland. I felt that's where my faith was tested the most. And I just remember praying to God. I don't know how to word it. I basically turned to him and asked him for help, and I can say he delivered more than delivered. He has blessed me so much in life. And living in Ireland is very different to over here. Like, even going to school, like, it's very religious. And it was so nice to see people worship God, like, in everyday life. Like, I had friends that always used to speak. It was just easier, if that makes sense, especially talking about faith and stuff like that.
How do you find it now?
And then I find it good. Like, I've got friends who are Christians as well. When I get to uni, it's really nice. Like, we talk and things like that. But it surprised me when we came back over here that I had friends that didn't know that I was Christian until I came back. So maybe it's my fault that I wasn't that openly talking about my faith and stuff like that. And it's been very difficult.
It takes a lot of confidence when you move from one context to another, and you're making new friends who are not Christians, and it can feel quite alien, can't it?
Definitely, I agree with you.
Yeah. And
it was nice just to have mutual ground. Like, they've obviously grown up in churches as well over there and stuff like that. So it's really nice and stuff like that.
I think God was working with both of us while we were in Ireland separately, because while you were going at your school, she came home one day and she said we've had missionaries that had gone to America and they'd come to school and talked about it in Canada. And I'd gone to school and I was sitting in an assembly and I had some old-fashioned choruses come into middle of school assembly I'd not heard since I was at Sunday school myself, and it just made me cry. And I thought, you could be far away, thinking you're far away from everyone, but God's there, always calling you and just nudging you.
Doesn't it break into your day when He needs you? You know?
And I think when we came back over here, it was just rediscovering everything we'd taken for granted and become. You can see God's hands in everything we do.
Definitely.
Day to day, little miracles that He's always there. And I think the Bible verse, I think that comes to mind that I had at the back of the church as we were growing up, is Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today and forever. And I think in this world, especially now with the pandemic, I just think everything's changing, but God never changes. And that's our focus point, that we just have to be still. And He says, be still and know I'm God. And I think that's what it is, that just focus
on God.
So Anne-Marie, you work with young people with special needs.
Yeah.
This might be a difficult question and not one that I prepped you for. Where do you see God? Where do you see God at work amongst the special needs children?
I think in their lives, in their eyes, in their lives, their innocence. God created us all the way we should be, whatever form that is, whatever ability it is. God doesn't make mistakes.
Yes, right.
Everybody is there in their own ability, and you see in the innocence of their eyes, the way they accept life. They just accept it. And I think that's the way we should be. Don't get dazzled by what the world gives us, but strip it all away. It's the heart, isn't it? The purity part. You see that.
The simplicity of living, isn't it? We can live really simply, can't we? But yet we make it so difficult, because we're we're hemmed in on each side. You know, social media tries to shape our lives, doesn't it? Well, actually, I was thinking about your work, and when you look in the eyes of somebody who has special needs, there is that purity, there is an innocence that hasn't been, I don't know how to explain this, and I hope this doesn't come across rude to those that are listening, but it hasn't been affected, you know? There is a beauty in that. There's a Catholic priest called Henri Nouwen, and he set up an ark community. It's honestly, Anne-Marie, it's just beautiful the way he saw God through those with special needs. It's amazing. He was an amazing priest. So during the pandemic, how have you sensed God saying anything or doing anything through you that you wouldn't normally, you know?
Just to focus on him, really, like just to keep going, no matter if it's physical, emotional, just keep going.
Yeah, I think at first it was very difficult. I think because everything, you heard the news, people panicking, panic buying, and it was very different to what we'd had. And I did become overwhelmed at first, and then I thought, well, actually, all through life, things have come and gone. Just focus. God knows what's going on. If he's looking after the birds and the flowers in the field, he's going to look after us. So just let the world, I think you have to watch the news, but then you have to switch it off, otherwise you do become depressed. And
absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree with you. So what can we pray for you, Steph, in your studies, or just generally? How can we pray for you?
I would say please pray for me in my studies. With uni at this time, it's very uncertain and there's a lot of obstacles because my course is very practical as well. Especially I do specialist hair and media makeup, which is like for film, TV, fashion shows. So it's very people oriented.
Your face is so beautiful, isn't it? That's why you're
Thank you.
So good.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Just pray with my studies more than anything. And just hope it goes smoothly.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
What about you, Anne-Marie?
I think it's general life. I think it's just people around and health. I think spiritually as well, just being focused and not to get distracted, or to keep strong, and just whatever happens in life, know God's in control. Yeah, and there's a reason for everything, whatever happens.
Listen, it has been so lovely chatting to you both. You're just lovely women. Don't forget.
I've enjoyed it. Thank you for making it a pleasurable experience.